The trumpet has sounded over your life. At this very moment, the noise is being muted. Everything ordinary around you grows quiet so that eternity can speak directly into your world. This is not coincidence. Your routine has been interrupted by the voice of the everlasting. You have always known you were different. While others chase shadows, you crave what endures. When the crowd settles for ease, a deeper longing rises in you. A restlessness that is not weakness, but God's fingerprint marking you as chosen. Might interject here. Disruption precedes progress. If your life was interrupted, maybe it was being redirected. The trumpet in ancient days was never sounded without purpose. To announce a king, to summon an army, to call an assembly. That same blast now shakes your spirit, not to punish, but to call you into the destiny that was written before time began. You are being summoned to step out of blending and wandering and to step into purpose. A story. A young man felt buried by obscurity. He toiled in quiet, unseen and uncheered. Like a blacksmith at the furnace, God was shaping him in secret. When the hour came, the one once overlooked became the instrument of a new season for many. His obscurity was not punishment, it was preparation. ELON short thought, the quiet seasons do the shaping. If you're still standing, the next chapter may be why you endured the last. Your season of refining is doing the same work now. The protection that kept you from disaster, whether obvious or hidden, was not mere chance. It was a divine pause, a shield, and a staging ground. You were kept so you could be trusted with what's next. Heaven declares, chosen one, arise. The horn is sounded. Move with urgency, but with patience. You were protected for a purpose. ELON's closing note. When timing lines up, act quickly. When you survive the storm, assume you're being prepared for something bigger. You're not wasting your time waiting. While you believed nothing was occurring, heaven has been creating chapters. Resilience has been shaped by every setback. You've been crying more deeply with each unanswered prayer. Each tear has soaked the soil in preparation for the impending eruption. In the second letter to Timothy, the apostle writes in verse 7 of chapter 4, I've put up a decent fight. I've completed the race. I have remained faithful. This is the chosen people's anthem. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. You're not asked to falter, veer off course, or give up in terror. You're supposed to persevere, to keep going, to do well in the end. There is more to the trumpet call than merely getting started. Its purpose is to take you to the end of your heavenly mission. Imagine yourself in a gloomy home, a light glowing. The oil seems to be low, the wick seems little, but the darkness is frightened by the very fact that you continue to blaze. You're that person. Where darkness believed they had triumphed, you shine. This is an urgent call. In Israel, the people either assembled quickly or lost their opportunity when the trumpet blew. Heaven isn't playing music in the background of your existence. An alarm is being sounded. You already sense it. Your heart reacting, your soul trembling. This word isn't just any word. Your route has been directly interrupted by heaven. So don't wait, I tell you. Don't forget to scroll beyond this. Take note of this moment. Answer the horn if you hear it. Another selected person is waiting for them to awaken, so spread the word. You can't afford to miss what paradise is about to unleash, so subscribe. And remark 111 as a sign of prophecy right now. Spirit proclaiming, Father, Son, I join the trumpet call. It's not over yet. This is only the start. Now come forward. Can you see what's going on? The trumpet, if chosen, is more than just a musical instrument. It's motion. It's the trembling of the earth under your feet, telling you to get up, to look up, to realize that the hiding season is over. Now there is a divine stirring. The Spirit is telling you to stop straying, putting things off, and acting like you're normal. You're not like the others. The light you bring was intended to dispel the darkness. A voice intended to rouse countries. It is an unchangeable fate. Consider a locked box that has been sitting for ages beneath the dust. Just one key fits, and that key was given to you by heaven. This is the appearance of obedience, the discovery of previously undiscovered gems. Keep the key in place. Don't abandon what others have yearned to see. There is yet more to your tale. Angels have been waiting for you to enter these pages. Each scar will bear witness. All losses will be recovered. Every flaw you have will serve as evidence of his power. You won't stay in one place. You're being propelled ahead by the trumpet. As a proclamation, spread this message immediately. Remember to seal this moment and subscribe so that you stay in sync with God's message. In the comments, write 111. Heaven attests to your affirmative. You bear markings that are incomprehensible to others. Some people interpret your heart wounds and the memory of conflicts you never volunteered for as signs of weakness. However, they're not indicators of failure. They're proof that you made it through what was supposed to kill you. They serve as evidence that you were selected and kept for something far bigger than what you have been through. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. To the untrained sight, imagine flames. Fire seems to be complete devastation, devouring, diminishing, and leaving only ash in its wake. However, anybody familiar with the furnace knows that fire is also where impurities are burnt away, steel is toughened, and gold is purified. You are not a failure because of the scars you bear. They are a testament to the refiner who has saved your life in fires that others could not. In one season, a guy once started to lose everything. Friends left. His belongings disintegrated, his family deceived him, and even his health was compromised. He was cursed, the society said, rejected and abandoned, yet heaven spoke something else. Even in the absence of answers, trust persisted in heaven. Even when the night would not go to sleep, adoration rose in heaven. Furthermore, that individual accomplished more than just live throughout time. Double was used to revive him. His wounds turned into evidence that put an end to the charges. Job was his name. However, his tale is not that unlike from yours. The writings of James chapter 1 verse 12 serve as a reminder from God. The individual who perseveres through adversity is blessed because they will be awarded the crown of life for having done so. For those who love him, the Lord has made promises. Those who never engaged in combat do not wear this crown. It is awarded to those who battled and persevered despite their shaking, scars, and fatigue. Your scars serve as proof that you are deserving of that crown, and you are moving toward it. Even while undamaged vessels are seldom trusted with the heaviest missions, there are moments when you wish you were unmarked, unbroken, and undisturbed. Even though an untested sword seems flawless, it will break in combat. When foes are around, only a sword that has endured the blacksmith's hammer and the forge's heat can remain intact. The same is true for you. You have been honed, tempered, hammered, and pressed, not for show but for combat. Your wounds serve as a spiritual language. They communicate your readiness to heaven. You cannot be intimidated, they tell hell. They convey to generations that you are a silent witness of loyalty and a bearer of survival. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Resilience is preached by your very being. Think of yourself like a clay jar with cracks in it. It seems unworthy to some because of the flaws. However, the flaws are what let the splendor spill forth as the light strikes within. The riches within would stay buried without them. The brightest spots of heaven's brilliance are found in your wounds. Fire damage does not always indicate that you are doomed. They indicate that you have been selected. They distinguish you. They keep you apart from the hordes who crumble under stress. They demonstrate that you are not your own strongest, that you have been carried through nights that should have destroyed you by a hand bigger than yours. You could believe that you are too weak, brittle, or broken to hold anything valuable. But take another look. It is sufficient evidence that you are still here. Others have not withstood the storms you have. There have been troughs when others around you said it was over. But you continued to move. You've been on fire. You are still alive, even if you have a smoke odor. You continue to breathe. You remain upright. Don't hate your wounds. They're not stains. They are signatures. They convey your narrative more effectively than words can. They are etched into your entire being as your witness. They serve as a reminder that you weren't left behind. You were marked by fire, yet it did not destroy you, even when you felt alone. Rather, it recognized you. Because of all you have gone through, you are different from the others. Heaven has seen everything. Now, those markings themselves will do the talking for you. Unlike polished credentials, they will open doors. When others say nothing, they will support your statements. God will use your wounds as ink to paint hope into the lives of people who are still in pain. So raise your head. What you carry does not disqualify you. You are set aside, sealed, and certified. You are at the edge of your options. The earth behind you seems more secure, comfortable, and normal, and the wind of fate is powerful here. However, there's a drop in front of you that seems to be terrible, but it is really the jump into everything that paradise has in store for you. Comfort and calling meet here, and you can't carry both. This is where the chosen ones are always led. Imagine Israel standing at the Red Sea's brink. Horses and chariots sounded behind them. The Pharaoh's army was pursuing with great might. There was an ocean in front of them without a boat, bridge, or explanation. Their preferred cliff was that one. Would they turn themselves in and return to slavery? Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Or would they put their faith in the God who assured them of salvation? The tale is well known to you. The road became the impossible as the waves parted. But only when they made the decision to obey did it open. Until you step forward, the waters you two are standing and will not separate. Heaven awaits your affirmative response, not your partial affirmative. It's your whole surrender that says, I could choose his way, not your postponed yes. Your whole life has been bringing you to this point, even when I can't see the ground under my feet. Every season that concealed you, every conflict that left you scarred, and every trumpet call that shook you all come together here. You can't stay in the middle. Serving two masters is impossible. Obedience and revolt cannot coexist. A choice must be made because of the cliff. In chapter 24, verse 15 of the book of Joshua, God's voice thundered. Decide for yourself who you will serve today. However, my family and I will serve the Lord. No, this isn't a recommendation. It serves as a boundary. Delays are not permanent. Each time you delay compliance, you return to the bonds that once bound you. Your vision is dulled by every compromise. Your spirit becomes sharper, and you get closer to your destiny with each act of surrender. Imagine a tree that is hanging to a canyon's extreme brink. Its roots go deeply into the rock, grabbing on a seemingly unsupportable fissures. However, it stands taller, stronger, and more impressive than trees in safer soil because it dares to cling when others collapse. That's your tale. You've been placed at the edge of the precipice to demonstrate that what ties you down is unbreakable, not to fall. Making this decision might be terrifying. It might be like walking into thin air after leaving solid ground. Heaven calls trust what you call danger. Furthermore, what you stand to earn on the other side is much greater than what you fear losing. The end is not the cliff. Flight is just getting started. I'm calling you now to commemorate this choice. Post a comment. I leave. Keep it brief. Be bold. Don't be personal. Typing words is just one aspect of this. It is an act of trust that seals your obedience. By writing it, you are announcing to yourself and to God that you will not falter anymore. Never undervalue the impact of a tiny deed. Seas may be parted by a single stride forward at the preferred cliff. Silos adversary and unleash promises that were only fantasized of by generations before you. Now is your time. Don't back down. Come on ahead. Say it. Put a lid on it. You don't tumble down the cliff. You ascend there. I leave when you proclaim. You're not just inputting words. You're bringing your soul and movement into harmony. You are admitting that you have more faith in the invisible than in the apparent, just as Abraham did when he left his nation without a map. Your proclamation turns into a portal. It lets you know when you're prepared to put your words into action. This straightforward expression is also combative. The attacker feeds on your indecision and traps you between options. But I go as soon as you write. You destroy the spirit of delay and quiet skepticism. You're expressing dread. It no longer dictates how your life is written. That action changes the mood. Imagine Peter out on the ocean. The waves were smashing as the storm raged. However, His trust endured for a single stride. Prior to his choice, the waters did not calm. After that, it replied, similarly, when you take action, your seas will react. You give God the opportunity to demonstrate his faithfulness in your obedience by taking a risk. Lastly, legacy is sealed with this pronouncement. Generations hence, others will look back and consider this to be the pivotal event. They will follow the trails you cleared since you made the decision to go out, even if you may not be aware of the difficulties you encountered. Your bravery is passed on to those who come after you. There are shadows and sunshine in every chosen life. Additionally, the enemy's plans often take place in the shadows and silence. You've experienced it previously. The unexpected weight that seems like it's pressing down on you. The murmurs of skepticism that cast doubt on your value. The peculiar opposition that appears just before you take action. These aren't random occurrences. These oppositional fingerprints are intended to halt the selected before they have a chance to fully awaken. The adversary operates covertly, concealing traps during routine tasks. He seldom makes threats to make his presence known. Rather, he sows the seeds of discouragement, little falsehoods that, if ignored, become massive vines. He attempts to persuade you that your prayers are in vain, that your waiting is pointless, and that your scars make you ineligible. However, the truth that has been proclaimed throughout your life cannot be overridden by these whispers. Through the prophet Hosea, the Spirit communicated. Verse 3 of chapter 6. Let's give thanks to the Lord. Let's continue to recognize him. He will come as definitely as the sun rises. Like the winter rains, he will arrive, similar to how the soil is irrigated by spring showers. Oh, pay special attention to this pledge. God's presence is not ambiguous, brittle, or transient. Even when opposition murmurs that you are forsaken, his arrival is as certain as dawn and as constant as the seasons. His look is predetermined, unavoidable, and unchangeable. Think of a nighttime battlefield. The adversary moves in the dark because he thinks his plans are hidden. However, every concealed movement is revealed by a single torch held aloft. You're that torch, the instant you don't give in. The plans around you are exposed by your light. Darkness may despise it, but it cannot put it out. The assaults have seemed personal for a reason. The reason for this is because they are. Your emergence is feared by the adversary. He is aware that you will not only stand but also guide others out of prison once you acknowledge your power. Because of this, resistance has increased just as you are trying to enter new seasons. Your battle's ferocity foretells the magnitude of your vocation. Resistance should not be interpreted as rejection. What stands in your way is proof that you are moving forward. Unoccupied homes are not broken into by thieves. Villages are not worthless to armies. You have treasure worth stealing, as shown by the strain you feel. Consider how Joseph was deceived by brothers who were supposed to be watching out for him. Sold, defamed, and put in jail. His life seemed to be a series of catastrophes. Behind the scenes, however, God was transforming those same plans into a means of ascending to the throne. What guys intended to do harm? Heaven became the gateway to world salvation. If treason couldn't make Joseph disappear, then secret plans can't make you disappear either. The same theme runs through your tale. Your future is being rebuilt as the exact dirt that was intended to destroy you. The last word will not be pain. After a fire, purpose will see a garden. The soil seems burned, dead, and squandered, but seeds wait deep in the earth, and eventually, ashes give way to green sprouts, more robust and lively than before. Only what could not be left has been burned away by the plans against you. The power of what follows will be beyond the enemy's comprehension. Thus, when you sense the invisible resistance gaining ground, keep this in mind. You are not brittle glass that is about to break. You are furnace-forged tempered steel. Your wounds are not evidence of your failure. They serve as evidence that you were not destroyed by the fire, and the very opposition you encounter is preparing you to assume more responsibility in the days to come. Raise your gaze above the plans. Despite their imposing appearance, they are not the end. The word that God has already spoken over you, the seal that he has put on you, and the brightness that no shadow can take away are what matter most. Your narrative does not stop with the invisible resistance. It serves as the background against which God decides to use you to demonstrate his might. Without pressure and without resistance, his power would not be shown. There wouldn't be any evidence of him. There is a purpose even for the darkness. They help you become more adept at telling the difference between truth and falsehoods. They encourage you to rely on the one who never fails rather than your own power. The light inside you cannot be smothered by the shadows that surround you. So take cautious moves ahead. Don't let fear dictate the time of year. The entryway is often what seems to be a wall. Usually, what seems to be the conclusion is really the beginning. The God who summoned you has already fulfilled his promise and will not postpone his arrival. The road splits at a certain point, with a crown on one side of the other chains. The crown is composed of more than just gold. The chains aren't made of iron either. The crown is a symbol of submission to the monarch. Furthermore, the shackles stand for the inability to let go of things that are not durable. This decision must be made for each selected individual. You can't have both. It's a tremendous battle. Serving God is what the heart desires. But sometimes the hands cling to what seems secure. However, safety is often the most important link. It may seem innocuous, yet prevents you from ever assuming the crown, which is your rightful birthright. Feels heavy because it requires submission and responsibility, but it is the only weight that can bring glory. Imagine an athlete who crosses the finish line. Nobody recalls the diversions he formerly battled or the burdens he previously wore. The crown that is put on his head as a reward for his perseverance is what counts. Similarly, what you decide to take to the finish line determines your fate rather than what slowed you down. This is the crown that is in front of you, Indy. The apostle tells us in his first epistle to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 25, everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. It is not fading. It doesn't rust. You can't steal it. However, you must say yes, give up, and put down the chains of compromise. And now, while you listen, allow me to talk honestly and honestly. That crown trip includes this channel, these words, and this stream of communications. For you as the recipient as well as for me as the vessel. We are creating something timeless together, a beam of light that touches people at their darkest moments. And I need your cooperation to do that. This is what I say gently. Consider stitching back into the same soil that sustains you if the Spirit has touched you here and this message has given your tired soul new vitality. Not as obligation, not as a price tag, not as a transaction, but as an offering like pouring oil on an altar, saying, Lord, thank you for what you've spoken. Let this word flow to others. 2. Okay, think of it like a lamp burning in the night. Oil keeps it alive. Without oil, the flame weakens and dies. Every gift you give, whether small or great, is like fresh oil poured into the lamp. It keeps the fire burning so others too can see the light. Some may be one message away from hope, one word away from turning back to God. Your partnership makes that possible. Picture it like a river carrying living water. When you share, it is as if you let the river overflow into another thirsty field. When you like and subscribe, you're digging deeper channels so the river never runs dry in your own land. And when you donate, it is like planting hidden wells along the path. Wells you may never drink from, but someone weary and wandering will one day find and be revived because of your generosity. But hear this. Whether or not you give, whether or not you contribute in that way, you are loved. You are valued, and you are chosen. This message is not for sale. It is a gift of grace. What you choose to do with it will always remain between you and God. Let this moment remind you that crowns are eternal, but chains are temporary. What weighs on you now will not last, but what you surrender into God's hands will outlive you. Choose the crown. Choose the weight that leads to glory, not the chain that leads to regret. And as we walk together, let's carry this flame forward. Like, share, and subscribe so you remain connected to the stream of words heaven is releasing. And if you feel led, donate as you are able, not because you must, but because you want the light to keep burning. Together, we can carry this torch further than one voice alone ever could. The crown or the chains both stand before you now. Heaven leans in, waiting for your choice. May you choose well. And remember, the crown is not only for you. Every decision you make, every act of surrender becomes a seed that future generations will harvest. Your yes today may be the reason someone tomorrow finds their way back to God. So lift your eyes. The crown is closer than you think, and the chains are weaker than they appear. Walk forward with courage, carrying the light, knowing that heaven itself is cheering you on. There are moments in life when heaven confirms what has already been spoken in your spirit. These confirmations come in symbols, signs, and patterns that others may overlook, but the chosen cannot ignore. They are prophetic markers designed not to entertain, but to anchor you, reminding you that you are walking under divine alignment. Numbers in Scripture are never random. They carry weight, meaning, and prophetic voice. 7 declared completion. 12 marked government. 40 spoke of testing. Numbers are woven into the very rhythm of God's dealings with His people. And today, heaven has placed a number before you, not to confuse you, but to seal what He is already whispering into your life. Think of Noah, who watched rainfall for 40 days and nights, each drop confirming what God had spoken. Think of Israel wandering 40 years, each sunrise reminding them that their promise was ahead. Think of Jesus, fasting 40 days, every hunger pang a declaration that man does not live by bread alone. Numbers testify. They witness silently, yet powerfully. The ancient words recorded in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9, remind us in their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. This is why numbers matter. They remind us that your steps are not random. Even when you plan one way, heaven aligns another. The pattern becomes the proof. The sign becomes the seal. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a compass in the hand of a traveler. He thinks he knows where north is, but the needle trembles and pulls him back to the true direction. That needle is like prophetic numbers in your journey. They realign you when you drift. They anchor you when you doubt. And they whisper, "This is the way. Walk in it." You may feel uncertain in this season. Perhaps your prayers have stretched long without answer, or doors have shut in places you expected favor. But these prophetic markers are heaven's way of saying, do not panic. I still remember you. You have not lost your way. Your steps are set. Think of Gideon. He asked for confirmation with fleece, once wet and once dry. God did not scold him for seeking a sign. Instead, God graciously gave it because Gideon's mission was too great to leave him in doubt. In the same way, heaven is willing to reassure you, not so you remain dependent on signs, but so you learn to trust that the one guiding you is faithful. And so today, there is a prophetic act set before you. It may seem small, but heaven often hides greatness in small obedience. As a mark of your agreement with what God is speaking, comment the number 777 below. Why 777? Because 7 is the number of completion and divine perfection. And 3 sevens together declare a triple seal: body, soul, and spirit brought into harmony under God's design. When you write 777, music, you are testifying that you are aligning not halfway, but completely with His purpose. Some may see it as simple typing, but heaven sees it as a prophetic echo. Every act of agreement is a nail driven into your destiny, fastening you more securely to the promise. Just as Israel stacked stones by the Jordan as a memorial, your comment becomes a marker, a stone laid in the riverbed of history, declaring, "Here is where I aligned with God's voice." Consider a little unseen, unimportant seed that is buried under the dirt. With roots pushing down, it starts to stir. Upward pressing shoots. That's what occurs when you behave prophetically in response to heaven's summons. Something has already changed in the invisible realm, even if you can't see the results right now. Therefore, don't ignore this occasion. There is no superstition in numbers. They are words. They are included in heaven's lexicon. And heaven is now using the ink of alignment to write your tale. Note it. Put a lid on it. Give the unseen worlds a yes by leaving a comment with the number 777. This is your anchor, your confirmation. Your signs are prophetic. Boldly step into it, because whomever determines your steps has already been there before you. In addition to announcing completion, writing 777 serves as a reminder to yourself that unresolved conflicts in your life will not stay unresolved indefinitely. The last chapter has already been signed by heaven, and triumph marks the conclusion. It turns into a testimonial as well. This moment will be recalled each time you see the number 777, whether it is written on a paper, on a clock, or muttered in prayer. Let 777 be more than just a number, since it will serve as a memorial stone that reads, "Here I chose alignment. Here I sealed my trust." Let it serve as your reverberation of faith and your imprint on the course of events. The selected often travel a route of isolation, one that is characterized by solitude rather than crowds. It's not a kind of discipline. It's not a rejection. It serves as defense. You are one of the gems that God keeps hidden till the right moment. You could reflect on times when relatives misinterpreted you, when friends rejected you, or when chances were lost. It seemed at the moment like loss, like quiet, like abandonment. But you would see what really occurred if heaven opened your eyes completely. God was removing you from situations that would tarnish your calling, from people who would undermine your mission, and from relationships that would ensnare you. Think about Moses' upbringing in the Egyptian palace. He might have spent his whole life in a world of wealth and power. However, he was thrust into the wilderness the instant he revealed who he really was. The desert served as a school for 40 years. Alone with the God who was preparing him, alone with sheep, and alone with stillness. He knew the desert had not wasted him when the blazing bush at last burned before him. It had kept him safe. The same is true for you. Preservation has always been what seemed to be rejection. God was aware that you would have carried their expectations into your future if you had been too closely associated with certain individuals. You wouldn't have felt the full impact of the call on your life if you had been let to settle in cozy surroundings. It was not harsh to separate. It included surgery. He removed whatever that you couldn't take. Your mirror is found in the 3rd verse of Psalms 4 verse 3, which states, "Know that the Lord has set aside his faithful servant for himself. The Lord hears when I call to him." You have been maintained for him as a servant, not as an outsider. Additionally, your silent prayers were not disregarded. They heard it. It was captured on tape. It was cherished. Imagine an archer getting his arrow ready. He waits before putting it on the bowstring. He first puts it aside, examines it, smooths it out, and makes sure it's straight. He doesn't let it fly till after that. God's examination is separation. He has placed you aside to get you ready for a release that will hit just where he wants it to, not to squander you. There is purpose to your loneliness. You weren't sitting in solitude on empty evenings. They were full of his invisible hand molding your personality. Even when you thought he was far away, his whisper was all over them. They were all about getting ready for bigger than expected duties. Many people find it hard to comprehend why those who are selected seem distant. They interpret your quiet as haughtiness. Your separation pride is what they call it. However, they fail to see that you are traveling under the protection of God. If kept out for too long, oil can deteriorate. If a flame is exposed to excessive wind, it flickers out. God keeps your oil fresh by covering you, so that your flame doesn't get too deep too soon. Imagine a pearl developing inside an oyster. It stays concealed for years. In the dark, layer after layer is being built. Nobody notices it. Nobody finds it admirable. It is not celebrated. But when the moment is perfect, the jewel flashes through the shell. That pearl is you. Your years of concealment are not in vain. When your beauty is unveiled, it will be astounding because of them. Don't hate the wilderness, then. Don't curse the loneliness. Don't get angry about being away from crowds. It's all on your side, not against you. It's not a rejection. It serves as defense. Isolation is not the case. Incubation is what it is. You will be released in his time by the same person who set you apart. Raise your gaze. It won't be your hidden season for long, but while it lasts, allow it to mold, polish, and fortify you. Because the world will realize that separation was the exact soil in which your destiny blossomed when the curtain comes down and they see what heaven has been preparing. And you'll understand that every lonely minute was an investment when that revealing occurs. Every cry was a drop of oil that filled your light, enabling it to burn brighter and longer throughout the darkest hours of the night. Hold on, then. Take your time. The God who concealed you is well aware of when to make you visible. And when he does, your tale will amplify his faithfulness and quiet any doubt. Your existence disturbs certain atmospheres for a purpose. Even if you don't speak, the environment changes when you walk in. Eye contact is avoided by certain individuals. Others start to feel uneasy, while yet others are pulled without knowing why. This isn't a coincidence. It's the power you own. Your inner light is not ornamentation. It is a power that dispels the shadows. In secret, darkness flourishes. It thrives in quiet and secret locations where falsehoods fester. However, shadows lose their strength as light comes in. They are unable to dispute. They are unable to resist. They had to get away. You encounter opposition as a result. You're more than just a believer. You're a light bearer, and that light tells all the hidden forces that their time is over. The ancient lines found in John's Gospel, chapter 1, verse 5, serve as a reminder that light shines in the dark and that darkness cannot defeat it. It's not an abstract poem. It's how your life is described. Even when you feel vulnerable, you shine. Even in the midst of storms, you shine. Through fear, betrayal, and disappointment, the darkness has attempted to extinguish your spark. You are still blazing, radiating, and carrying light, nevertheless, while you stand here. The darkness has failed, as shown by that survival alone. Imagine a candle within a cavern. The cavern is enormous, dark, and frighteningly large. However, the shadows recede when the light is lit. The cavern is unable to smother the flame, yet it does not shrink. The same is true for you. Your spark has influence well beyond its size, even if you may feel little in comparison to the weight of the earth. Your remarks are important because of this. Lease unravels when you tell the truth. Desperation lessens when hope is expressed. You may let go of bitterness when you choose forgiveness. The structures of darkness are terrified by every act of light you emit because it shows that their hold is eroding. Think about Paul and Silas incarcerated. The chains tightened their grasp. The darkness deepened as the walls closed in. But the earth itself trembled as they sang a hymn of praise. Doors swung open. Captives were set free and chains were dropped. No barriers could contain the light that penetrated the prison's blackness. You have the same authority. Although you may not always feel powerful, authority is independent of emotion. Identity determines this. Despite its little size, a police officer's badge symbolizes the whole government. Likewise, the weight of heaven is carried by your identification in Christ. Your personality does not make demons shudder. The power imprinted on you makes them shudder. Imagine yourself on a storm-tossed shore, a lighthouse. Ships fight through the waves. They can't see the coast, but your beam helps them find safety by cutting through fog and rain. Your light saves lives, even if you are unaware of who is seeing. Many would collide with the rocks if it weren't for your beam. That is the extent of your existence on this planet. The adversary is aware of this. He has attempted to quiet you because he believes that falsehoods cannot alter reality. But your voice is too little, your influence too restricted, and your spark too frail. The light you possess is stronger than the darkness. This reality is echoed by creation itself. In the night sky, stars shine, each one playing a specific job rather than competing with the others. Together, they proclaim that there are limits to darkness, regardless of how big or little they are. From a distance, your existence may seem little, yet like a star, it pierces the darkness and bears witness to something bigger. So, go with assurance. Don't suppress your passion to appease others. Don't let your fear of being judged cause you to darken your brightness. You are not selected to be a part of the darkness. They choose you to mess with them. The spiritual climate changes as soon as you walk in, not because of you, but because the light bearer himself ignites within of you. And keep this in mind when you start to question your influence. Light just shines. It doesn't need permission to do so. And that light is sufficient to reveal, lead, cure, and proclaim triumph over the darkness. A carrier of that light is you. Enter each chamber as if paradise had suddenly opened, because it has come via you. The darkness observes, even when you don't feel observed. What others cannot see is unsettled by your light. And for that reason, as you climb, the opposition becomes more acute. It is affirmation rather than censure. Thus, continue to burn. Continue to shine. Heaven marks every flicker as an everlasting triumph. But the earth may never fully comprehend the extent of your light. Every chosen life has turning points when hesitancy may be just as deadly as blatant revolt. You are familiar with this moment. Your feet are bound by the weight of dread, yet your determination is driving you onward. Delay is never neutral. It is prudence disguised as disobedience. You've climbed over the cliff of choice. It is currently in front of you. God doesn't whisper to amuse you when he speaks. His tone is one of invitation. However, it is also a command. Hearing and not reacting is like hardening your heart layer by layer till the voice becomes weak. For this reason, prompt action is crucial. While every delay creates walls of resistance, every yes creates a route toward compliance. According to chapter 18, verse 21 of the first book of Kings, the prophet Elijah said, "How long will it take you to decide between two viewpoints? Follow the Lord if he is God. However, follow Baal if he stops." This goes beyond history. You are in the present. You can't sway indefinitely. You're not being called by the Spirit to wait until you feel ready. He's phoning you right now. Consider Israel in the city of Jericho. When they planned and spoke, the barriers remained intact. When they marched, they collapsed. As they obeyed, their feet tapping the earth in time. The miracle was movement. The same is true for you. Your current action changes things in a way that dialogue alone could not. Delays are expensive. Every second of indecision allows doubt to germinate. Fear is able to tighten its hold with each moment of stillness. However, bonds are immediately broken by obedience, even trembling obedience. It doesn't wait for bravery to show up. As you go, it creates bravery. Imagine the hinges of a door swinging. It has creaked, moaned, and resisted movement for years. Finally, however, a forceful push causes the rust to give way. The door opens. Your obedience is that shove. The hinges have already been loosened by heaven. All you have to do is use the decision weight. So let's do more than just listen. Put a lid on it. Take action. Answer it. In the comments, type these 3 words. Now I'm moving. It's brief. It's obvious. It is final. Allow your heart to be in harmony with the message as you write it. I won't wait. At all costs, I shall come forward in obedience. It may seem little to others, but heaven views it as a covenant. Destiny speeds up, doors open, and shackles shatter when your words match your will. This typing is not meaningless. It's a spiritual consensus, a proclamation inscribed for all time. Once again, you find yourself at the verge. Avoid being paralyzed by dread. Don't allow uncertainty make you believe that things will be safer tomorrow. There is no guarantee for tomorrow. Now, however, is the time to react and observe as the earth under your feet changes into the promised land. Although it is never easy, obedience is always beneficial. It seems like a leap into the unknown with each step ahead, but it is precisely in the uncertainty that God is most visible. Abraham had no idea where he was heading as he departed his own nation. He just had a pledge. Nations were built on that one act of obedience. You don't comprehend how much your yes today means. When you say, "I move now," you are reluctantly breaking commitments. You are ending the generations-long procrastination loops that have plagued your family. Maybe those who were earlier than you heard the call, but waited until their window closed. You're standing exactly where you were before. However, how you react will alter the narrative. When others paused, you'll go forward. You'll step where others froze. Consider obedience to be similar to sowing a seed. In your palm, it doesn't seem to be that strong. Tiny, delicate, and easily missed. However, concealed power starts to function as soon as you release it into the earth. Roots push down. A tree eventually emerges where there was just a seed as shoots push upward. That seed is your obedience today. Despite its little size, it contains woods. The adversary is afraid of your rapid reaction because he knows it spreads fast. As long as you wait, he doesn't mind whether you attend, listen, or even nod along. However, heaven comes to meet you the instant you take action. Doors swing, angles shift, and the mood changes. Darkness wants you frozen, which is why reluctance seems simpler. Thus, make sure you comprehend this. It's not only about you to obey. Others are released as you move. When you obey, those who are close to you, your friends, family, and even complete strangers, drop their shackles in anticipation of your yes. Heaven draws in close at times like this. Because of this, don't undervalue what occurs during this hour. Eternity is observing. Heaven is recording. And even if you obey simply, it will have an impact that is far beyond your visual range. There are times when a person is sealed with glory by heaven, because they answered yes when it counted most, not because they are perfect or have never failed. And it's irrevocable once that seal appears. Now, if I can call it off, it cannot be stolen by an adversary. It cannot be erased by failure. You are currently entering that season, the time when greatness is sealed. This sealing's weight is invisible to the naked eye, but it changes the world around you. People may not be able to articulate the significance of what you say, why possibilities arise in unexpected locations, and why your presence changes the environment. This is due to the fact that you are carrying the mark of heaven's approbation, which cannot be faked. The second epistle to the Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 22, reminds us that God anointed us, placed his mark of ownership on us, and placed his spirit in our hearts as a deposit that ensures what is to come. Your anchor is this seal. It is a sign from heaven that you are chosen, that you belong, that you are safe, and that your future is certain. Consider a letter that was wax sealed in antiquity before it was sent to its intended recipient. It may be touched by many hands, but the seal proved who owned it. Only the person who sent it has the authority to break it. That's your life. The seal won't break even if you go through many hands, seasons, and conflicts. You are the sender's property. Consider a vineyard. Strings are tied along each row by the vine gardener to sustain the branches as they get laden with fruit, not to tie them. The fruit would decay in the dust, and the branches would droop without those bonds. God's seal is comparable to those connections. It keeps you balanced. It keeps your crop fresh. It prevents the waste of your fruit. Now allow me to speak from the heart. I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe if these words have added power to your spirit or served as oil to your lamp. Each deed is like raising the flame on a lampstand when you want to, not because vanity cares about numbers. It's like lighting a second candle in the darkness. Darkness is pushed back by one more spark. Sharing is like tossing a seed into a river. It floats far away and establishes itself in locations you can never get to. Subscribing guarantees that you never lose your course as the river flows further, much like constructing a bridge across flowing waters. I say this lightly as well. Consider stitching into this work and giving as directed if you feel the seal of this message resting on you and your heart has been moved. Imagine it like planting a tree in a field that you may not return to for a long time. There will be shade for travelers. Kids will discover fruit. And underneath what you planted, tired spirits will find rest. Your contribution is a stone in the long-term construction of the temple of light. You take one little stone, and someone else takes another, until countless people find a place of shelter. Hear me out. This is not a must. The magnitude of your donation has no bearing on the crown of glory. Your willingness to answer God's call will determine this. You are still chosen, sealed, and loved whether or not you donate. However, let your offering to become an echo of thankfulness if you are moved to do so. A wave of optimism that spreads beyond you. You already have the seal of greatness. You are indestructible, as shown by every trial that attempted to break you. Each valley you traversed has turned into an oil for your anointing. Gold has been pushed into each scar. And now you ascend, sealed, marked, and irresistible, not empty. So enter this season with confidence. Recognize that you are bearing the imprint of heaven. Be aware that you are under the ownership of God. Recognize that you have been anointed for influence. Allow people to see the brightness you carry as you travel. If guided, like, share, subscribe, and give. You want the temple to rise stronger for those who will follow you, the river to flow further, and the flame to burn brighter. Not because you have to. You're sealed. You can't be stopped. The narrative of grandeur is written with you in it. Additionally, history will remember your obedience and charity. You helped elevate the light. You helped enlarge the river. You contributed to the construction of the temple. These will serve as quiet reminders that you were born into a life of greatness. Your actions now will have a lasting impact tomorrow. It is never easy to bear the burden of greatness. It stands on the shoulders of those who have endured the refining fire, walked through valleys, and struggled with storms. Even though you may not have had the words to express it, you have felt this weight. It's the feeling that you're being pushed over your breaking point. Nevertheless, you found strength you were unaware you had. Glory isn't a garnish. A brilliant crown is not given away for free. It requires endurance because of its bulk, substance, and weight. In the same way that a vessel has to be sturdy enough to contain valuable oil without breaking, your life must also be ready to receive what God is giving you. The burden you've been carrying wasn't an isolated incident. Training was what it was. According to the author of Hebrews 12, verse 11, no discipline seems to be enjoyable while it is unpleasant. But for those who have been schooled by suffering, it later yields a harvest of peace and righteousness. Your difficulties have been a kind of discipline rather than punishment, Emily. They have taught you to be resilient and strong. Others were unable to. They have given you the fortitude to endure when doubts and storms rage. The selected are often misinterpreted as a result. People see the strength, but they are unaware of the many sleepless nights that made it possible. Though they ignore the training that formed it, they marvel at the grandeur. Consider a sports person who consistently lifts large weights. At first, the weight seems too much, causing the muscles to tremble and the air to run out. However, the body adjusts, strength increases, and what once shattered him becomes a habit with each repetition. It has been much the same for you. Although first devastating, a burden has increased your capacity. What previously seemed inconceivable is now in your possession. Because it entails responsibilities, glory is weight. Shining is to reflect the one who called you, not to show off. To influence is to lead people toward hope, not to win praise. The weight pushes so hard because of this. It requires humility. It dispels pride, allowing God's presence to shine through you. Imagine a potter using a wheel to shape clay. His hands exert pressure in all directions, sculpting, stretching, and squeezing. It feels like smashing to the clay. That's designed to the potter. Every press has a function. Capacity is prepared with each spin. Finally, the vessel comes out with the ability to hold what it would never have been able to without the shaping. Your life has been like that. You are being formed for a purpose via pressure. Many would want to avoid the burden. The selected, however, come to accept it, because there is wealth concealed in the heaviness. This is what the Apostle Paul meant when he referred to it as a treasure in clay jars. Despite being fragile vessels, they are quite powerful. You're not disqualified because of the fractures in your jar. They show out the inner splendor. Think of a tree that grows on a slope that is washed by wind. Year after year, it was battered by the gales. Its branches contort. It has scars on its bark. But with each storm, its roots grow deeper. Stronger than trees in protected valleys, the tree remains unfazed after the winds stop. The same is true for you. You have not been destroyed by the storms. You have been rooted by them. You no longer bear the burden of fame just for yourself. It is intended for those who will tolerate your shadow, in hopes that your tale would inspire bravery in others. Their hope is your perseverance. They use your scars as a map. Their lifeblood is your tenacity. The lives of the selected are not simple. They have a purpose in life. You are ready to bear authority because of every hardship. You have learned to walk with compassion in every valley. You have learned to glow brighter, not dimmer, from every fire. Therefore, don't hate it when you feel like you have a lot on your shoulders. Acknowledge it as such, the indication that others trust you. God has noticed that you have the power to hold more. The indication that your narrative is not a little one, but rather a generation-long testament. The weight of greatness does not crush you. It defines you. Even while it applies a lot of pressure, it will also raise you up and transport you to places that only the tested can reach. People will realize that the person whose honor relies on you, not your strength, is the reason you survive. He trusts you, as shown by the weight you bear. You will eventually be lifted into the fullness of your calling when that weight transforms into wings. Heaven will sometimes invite you to do more than merely listen, to act openly, not merely to believe in private. One of those times is now. Now, what was seated in secret need a visible seal, a prophetic act that brings your life into line with God's covenant. God extends an invitation to enter into a covenant with his people throughout the whole Bible. It was the rainbow spreading across the sky with Noah. It was the uncountable stars that surrounded Abraham. It was the blood on the doorposts on the night of liberation for Israel. And for you, it's a time of faith-filled surrender. Religion has nothing to do with the covenant. It has to do with relationships. The Word of God says in the book of Deuteronomy 7 verse 9, "Know therefore that the Lord your God is God. He is the faithful God, keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep his commandments." No, you're a part of that covenant love. It is heaven's way of saying, "I will not leave you. I will not forsake you. My promises are yours, and my presence is with you." Yet every covenant requires a response, a sign that you accept and align yourself with the eternal promise. You are standing in a tale that will continue long after you are gone, a story that started long before you were born. Now, your loyalty is about more than just you. It has a knock-on effect on subsequent generations. Imagine a stone that has been dropped into water. Although there's a little splash at first, the ripples get larger. The stone touched coastlines, but never reached. It's the same with your act of covenant today. Heaven expands it into generations, even if it can seem little in your hands. I thus want you to commemorate this time with a prophetic deed in order to cement it. Put 888 in the comment section. First end, why 888? Because 8 represents fresh starts, resurrections, and venturing into uncharted territory. In accordance with God's promise, 3 8s combined signify a threefold renewal, body, soul, and spirit. Heaven serves as a reminder that your new chapter has already started and your old one is coming to an end. Writing 888 involves more than simply inputting numbers. You're giving a statement. Imagine a key slipping into a lock if you're saying, "I step into my new beginning. I receive the covenant that carries me into resurrection life." The passage is obstructed, the hinges are corroded, and the door has been closed for years. This prophetic deed symbolizes how what was previously closed might suddenly open when the appropriate key is turned. It is your spiritual key that opens seemingly closed doors. Don't undervalue how important this moment is. In the unseen, what seems symbolic in the natural is gigantic. Listen, angels, it's recorded in heaven, and the obedience of your present determines your destiny. Thus, let 888 be more than just a series of numbers shown on a screen. Let it serve as your living testament, your covenant mark, and your resounding affirmation of your agreement with heaven. You are sealed by the same person who calls you loyal. You are not just repeating a number when you type 888. You are writing a proclamation on your path. This deed serves as your marker, just as Israel did when they built stones beside the Jordan to serve as a reminder to future generations of God's faithfulness. It declares, "I have entered covenant and I will not turn back," in response to any impending storm. It has prophetic significance for your inner existence as well. The first 8 proclaims resilience, health, vitality, and fresh vigor for your body. Your soul will be restored, your mind will be at peace, your emotions will be healed, and you will be liberated from old bonds, according to the second 8. The third 8 talks about having a spirit that is in harmony with heaven, being able to hear God's voice clearly, and having the courage to exercise leadership. When combined, they provide a total rejuvenation. And remember this fact: such deeds are not done for God's sake, because He doesn't forget. They belong to you. You will look back at your covenant mark and remember, I sealed it. I aligned myself with heaven. My new beginning has already been written now. Therefore, let the number 888 stand not only as a comment, but also as a covenant. This will be the case when you encounter valleys once more, when fear tries to whisper, and when doubt tries to settle. Heaven is aware of it. Hell is afraid of it. It is welcomed in your future. And have faith that nothing can reverse what heaven has decreed as you enter this covenantal time. The fresh start is not brittle. It's safe. You no longer have to worry about the future. Its foundation is everlasting promise. Many people choose to ignore fact, but the selected have to deal with it. There is a limit to mercy. There is plenty of grace. Yes, but it has a function as well. It is not provided so that you may hesitate indefinitely. It is offered in order for you to turn from your sins, and get back up while the door is still open. God has consistently shown compassion and called His people back throughout history. However, there were times when He pulled His hand away, not because He no longer loved them, but rather because their failure to answer hardened their hearts irrevocably. He let them suffer the consequences of their disobedience. Forgiveness. When neglected for too long, judgment results. In the Epistle to the Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 26, God issues a warning. In the event that we consciously continue to sin after learning the truth, there is no remaining sin sacrifice. Yes, they are serious words. Fire is what they are. They serve as a reminder that having conviction is a gift rather than a given. Instead of toying with grace, the selected are instructed to cherish it, react swiftly to the Spirit's words, and avoid growing stale. Consider the Pharaoh of Egypt. Before his eyes, 10 plagues appeared. Warning after warning, sign after sign. He convinced himself he had more chances each time, hardening his heart. However, a last epidemic struck, a tipping point when judgment replaced pity. His insurrection destroyed his kingdom in addition to costing him his son. Delays are risky because they presume that tomorrow will come. Open disobedience is not usually the risk of insurrection. There are moments when there is silence, delay, and a murmur of later that grows into years. Openly rejecting God is not necessary for the adversary. All he needs is for you to put off obeying until your heart becomes numb. An unattended fire takes time to extinguish. It gradually disappears until just ash is left. Imagine that the oil in a lamp is going low. The light from the flickering flame is becoming dimmer by the second. Darkness will quickly take over if new oil is not poured. Ignoring conviction, this is a soul's condition. The ghost prods, murmurs, and convicts, but gets no answer. The oil runs out, and the room becomes dark as the flame goes out. You may still enter mercy's window, the feeling of being aroused. You know that God's hand is still with you because you can feel these words tugging at your soul. His conviction is proof of His affection. However, there is urgency in that same belief. Too many people can put an end to a single insurrection. Consider Esau, who traded his birthright for a stew. It seemed little at the time, just a dinner, just a decision. However, the Bible claims that he was turned down later when he sought to receive the blessing. Despite crying for remorse, he was unable to find it. The grim reality is this. Once closed, certain windows cannot be opened again. The Spirit is pressing you so hard right now because of this. He is aware of the price of waiting. He is aware that numbness might be dangerous. He is aware that every act of disobedience causes your eyes to become blinded until they can no longer see light. Love is warning you. Mercy is to rouse you. It would be abandonment to keep quiet. He hasn't left you either. Think about the picture of a cliff at sunset. The ground is firm. The air remains still. But it's becoming dark. It seems secure to take each step back. But it gets a little bit closer to the brink. The ground eventually ends. The drop is abrupt. Irreversible. That's the image of disregarding compassion. At first, it isn't dramatic. Though subtle, it always comes to a head. But listen to this. The door has not yet closed, as shown by the fact that you are still reading, breathing, and feeling the weight of these words. There is still grace for you. The Spirit doesn't keep quiet. The window of compassion is wide open, but it won't stay that way long. Take conviction seriously. It is more valuable than gold. It indicates that God is still in communication with you, still reaches out, and still desires your heart. He loves you too much to let you leave, as seen by the hurt his words cause. Now, there is mercy. Answer while it's still here, because regret cannot open the window once it is closed. Furthermore, the selected are not asked to repent. They have been summoned to greatness. Thus, cherish this moment. Allow it to shock you awake and serve as a reminder that time is precious. There is mercy, but it is limited. Before the window closes, decide to respect it. An invitation is replaced by silence. Every generation contains a residue. Those who don't bow. People who remain upright while others fail. Those who, in a world full of concessions, bear the torch of holiness. That residue includes you. You may not feel powerful all the time. Heaven acknowledges you as one of the set-apart ones, even if you may not always feel noticed. Selected to bear triumph at a time of loss. It has always been a little remnant. There were 8 persons in the ark when the deluge arrived. Elijah stood by himself on Mount Carmel when the prophets were quiet, believing he was the only voice remaining. He later learned that God had saved 7,000 people who had not bowed to Baal. The masses jeered as Jesus hung on the cross, but some people held on to hope. A multitude has never been necessary for God to alter history. A loyal few have always been the ones he has worked through. Haggai, the prophet, is mentioned in chapter 2, verse 9. The magnificence of the current home will surpass that of the previous one. The Lord Almighty states, "And I will grant peace in this place." A small number of exiles returned to the ruins after hearing this news. They felt hopeless as they gazed at the collapsing stones. However, God referred to them as his remnant. The splendor of the future was greater than that of the past, he told them. Now you hear the same truth. Your life can be in shambles. God says that despite broken aspirations, strained relationships, and scarred fights, more glory will come in the future. To be a member of the remnant is to be misinterpreted. Your uniqueness is your strength, even if the crowd may see you as passionate, obstinate, and reluctant to fit in. The remainder doesn't go with the flow. When the water level rises, it remains stable, similar to a rock in a river. It forms the very base of bridges because it resists the stream. Others will cross. Imagine a battlefield after a conflict. Smoke rises. There are weapons all about. There is a lingering silence. Numerous people have fallen. A tiny group, however, remains. Unbroken, yet scarred. The remainder is that. It is not luck that has kept them alive. It has a purpose. They serve as evidence that the conflict was not in vain in addition to standing for themselves. Your perseverance, your survival, your scars. These all affirm that you are a part of something greater. Comfort is not the reason for selecting the leftover. It has been selected for conquering, rebuilding altars, restoring truth, and rekindling flames where ashes remain are its tasks. And that spark is carried by you despite your weariness. The remnant's magnitude should not be despised. Thousands made up Gideon's army at first. God, however, lowered it to 300. Why? To demonstrate that obedience, not statistics, is the key to success. How completely they stand, rather than how many, defines the remnant. Think of it like a spark in the jungle. It seems to be unimportant, hardly perceptible. However, the legacy of that spark is that, despite their rarity, their faith may ignite countries and bring forth resurrection where hopelessness previously reigned when the wind brings it and causes arterial landscapes to ignite. It is no coincidence that you are in this remnant. Every season of separation, every pruning you went through, and every loss you experienced was all preparation. Only what is pure, dependable, and unfailing has remained after God has been removing everything that couldn't withstand the fire.